Screen is visible to all.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So again it is moving. Okay, let's be there. Later we will magnify it. So in biology and physiology, the next topic is host finding. Okay, visible this screen, host finding.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
This picture, Jyoti, Abhishek.
No, ma'am.
No,
Only
ma'am, no
host
picture, only
finding.
slide.
This picture,
No, ma'am.
host finding.
Yes, ma'am.
Then host finding continued. Slide is changing.
Yes, ma'am.
Now the figure.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So first you see this. Students are still joining. Shall I stop to admit or shall I wait for 5 minutes? So this is actually the anterior portion of nematode. Okay. So here you can see this is the stomal opening. This is the stomal opening through which the stylet is coming out and in. And this is head sclerotization. Okay. So this picture is just to show how the nematodes find their host. Okay. Because they don't have any eyes, they don't have any appendages like hands or legs. So they have to sense the host. So for that sensing, they have amperes. You have been taught that two numbers of amperes are present, that are sensory organs that are present either on head or behind the head or just on the lips or behind the lips. So this is the amperes. So only one part is showing here to describe how these amperes act on the host. So as the nematodes could find the host. Okay. So this is actually chemical and tactical. Tactile means they have to contact, they have to meet the root extract. Root extract means anything, any liquid part that is exudated from the roots. So from the roots, some liquid part is exudating, and through which they, and you can see here this is the ampid. Okay, this is the amphidial opening. Here you can see the opening is there, and here this is amphidial gland. So amphidial gland, they have both secreting, amphid has both secreting and nervous system. They have dendrites. So you can see here this is dendrite, dendrite having nerves here, and on the nerves there are some lock and key. This is lock, just to understand how they connect with the root exudates. So when the nematodes come in contact with roots, so the roots exudates, they pass through on their head, and these amphibs secrete some secretions. So both these form like a lock and key. You can see here, this is the part of cuticle. So on cuticle, there is exudation on that body, and this is the combination of both these liquids. So path of diffusing chemotactic factor. This is the path of diffusing, means any chemicals that are coming in the contact of nematodes. So they come inside the, sorry. Picture is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So they both contact each other, and because of these contacts, these dendrites, these dendrites change the host. So if the nematodes are polyphagous like Meladogyn, they can feed on more than 90% of the crops. So they can means if the one crop is harvested, then other crop is coming in the field, and when they find that it can be infected, this is the again uh, crop which can be host. So they again find their way on the roots by sensing the root exudates. But if the nematode is host specific, like cyst nematodes are very much host specific. Then seed gall nematode, that is Angina tritici, that is causing seed galls in wheat crop. That is also a host specific crop. Means they need the same host to develop, to infect. So if that crop is not there in the field, they could not infect the root, and they remain in the soil for long period, waiting for the host. So in next season, when the wheat crop is there, they again find the wheat roots, and then sensing the wheat root exudates, they infect the host roots. So this is the actually phenomena. So this chemotactic factor is represented by a black dot that is exudated by the host. Means this black dot is exudated by the host, means plant root. This is amphibial aperture. This is path of diffusing chemotactic factor. This is amphibial gland. This is exudates and cuticular receptor. So this is cuticular receptor, which is which is receiving the all the chemicals and their sensing. Okay, so just wait. Two more people, I think they are. So now, see, nematodes are obligate parasites. Obligates, you know, means without host, they cannot develop, they cannot multiply, they cannot reproduce. So they need a host, whether it is host root, whether it is a host seed, or whether it is a host leaves or earheads, because like Anguina aflancoids, they need uppermost part, that is shoot part of the plant. So nematodes cannot grow, means the most of the nematode, that is plant parasitic nematodes, they are obligate parasites. They need a host, they need a plant root to develop, and some of them are host specific, that need a particular host, that I told you, that cyst nematodes, Anguina, they are all need a particular host to develop. To identify and locate the host root, they need to sense it. So for sensing the host, they have some specific organs, that is chemosensory organs, means they sense the chemicals exudated by the roots located in the head region. So the amphibs are, you know, amphibs and phasmids, two sense organs which are very prominent, which are very prominently acting for the sensing of their needs. Like amphibs are for finding the host, and phasmids are finding the mates for reproduction. The amphibs play a major role in host finding, that is chemotaxis. So these are the scientists who reported that the nematodes move randomly in soil. I mean, they have described all the process in host finding in 1986. Okay, so when they reported that when the nematodes move randomly in the soil, so when they reach near plant roots, the specific biomolecule, that is chemotactic factor, that is exudated by the roots, exudated by the plant roots in the rhizosphere, bind with their specific counterparts. So with their specific counterparts means the counterparts is cuticular receptors that is present on the cephalic region of the nematode. So both these connect. These cuticular receptors are secreted by the amphidial glands. So whatever the amphidial gland secretes, that chemical is spread on the cuticle, and these chemicals on the cuticle, when they receive the chemicals exudated by the roots, they both combine like an lock and key. The binding of chemotactic factors and cuticular receptors works like a lock and key for system, and these coupled biomolecules then diffuse into the amphidial sensillum. So when they both combine, they again went to go inside the amphidial sensillum, that is having dendrites and nerves, and then the signal is thus passed on the nervous system, which in turn directs the nematode movement towards the host roots. Then they know where the root is, where to find the host root means actually the feeder root, which is very short and very much new roots. That is the part where nematodes can infect, because nematodes are very small, so they can't means in some parts some nematodes can infect the harder roots, but most of the nematodes they find their host on the feeder roots. So this is all about your host finding. So do you have any confusion? You can ask now so that I can move to another biology. All of you understood?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, in response to the evolutionary changes, which are more advanced in sensing, means which of them have more diversified presence of chemical receptors? You told that polyphagus can sense 90% of the host. So do they have
No,
a
no. I
variety
am
of?
saying that polyphagous nematodes they have many hosts. Okay, because they have adapted the most of the crops, because these root knot nematodes infect almost all of the crops except some like mustard, then tacitus, marigold you can say, then some asparagus, then some green manuring crops. Then some crops are still not their host, but they sense, because they have the sense, because they have developed their system, because they live inside, totally inside the roots. They are sedentary or migratory endoparasites. So endoparasites they are mostly developed because they have adopted the life, they have been synchronized with the life cycle of the host. So with that quality, they have adapted most of the crops as host. And the nematodes which are not polyphagous but host specific, it doesn't mean they are not advanced. Anguina tritici, it has both the capability, means they are ectoparasites before the onset of earhead in the wheat, and after the onset of earhead they go inside and become endoparasite. So they are also very evolved nematode. They have all the systems like you are knowing that on the basis of primitive and advanced nematodes. So what is the basis of differentiation? The two differentiation, like they have the advanced nematodes, they have H-shaped, that is canalicular type of excretory system, and the primitive type of nematodes, they have glandular type of this excretory system. And based on this, these were all the nematodes are grouped into Adenophoria and Cichlidaceae. So adenos means gland. So if they are having glands like Dorylamida and all the saprophagus nematodes, so not all, but most of them are still primitive nematodes. So they have different type of excretory system. So I want to say here that these amphids, actually they are present in almost all the nematodes to sense the host. But the root knot nematodes, since they are very much developed and very much adopted, all the host, all the nematode, all the crops, actually more than 95% crops that are affected with, and still many hosts are now reported that earlier they are not host of root knot nematodes, now they are feeding on that crops also. So this is the role of aphids, just to find the host. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Even the saprophagus nematodes, like when they are living in marine water or fresh water, or maybe they are not having stylate, because the stylate is present only in plant parasitic nematodes. So still they are having to sense the microorganisms on which they feed, like fungi, bacteria, mycoplasmas. So they have to sense the feed, sense the host. So these amphids, they are the responsibility to find them. Shifting to another, that is feeding. So after sensing the host, if they sense the host, then how do they feed on that host? So after sensing, what happens? That is feeding. So suppose Anguilla is fine, Anguilla found its host, and that is wheat crop. So wheat roots are there, and it sends the host. Then how does it go inside? How does it feed? So here also I want to show you first the figure. Okay. So this is the picture. All of you are. Can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So actually, this is a line diagram, not the actual the nematode. So just to understand, this is the nematode here. The upper one is a nematode stylate. This is nematode stylate, and this is the lumen. Lumen is hollow part where the feed, that is cell sap in liquid part, will come out, or sorry, come in for their digestion. So what happens in the stylate? This lumen is not opening on the tip. Just remember this part, that it is not opening on the tip, it is opening on the ventral side. So it is also called, the stylate opening is subventral. Okay, subventral means just slightly uh, lateral to the ventral side. So it is just like your pen. It is not on the tip, it is slightly side. So what happens when this nematode puncture on a cell, that after finding the host, they puncture the cell, and during the cell puncturing, they have to take the stylate from their mouth to cell, plant cell. So how do they do? So their median bulb, you have studied that digestive system, and in digestive system, the second part, that is median bulb, is having valves. So that valve is pumping like a heart, like our heart is pumping every time. So this valve is also pumping, and because of that pumping, you know the specialized muscle cells. So here also the specialized muscle cells are there, and when they contract, they open, and when they expand, they close. So this type of continuous pumping uh, creates a negative pressure. So because of that pressure, this liquid comes in, and when they want to stop the feed, they just uh, expand the that muscles. So in this case, actually nematodes are also animals because they have all the developed systems of like reproductive system, digestive system, all are very well developed. But in the differentiation between ours and nematodes is that they digest partially their food outside. Okay, how? So when they, you have studied that nematodes in esophagus of nematodes, they have esophageal glands. That is one dorsal esophageal gland and two subventral glands. So in case of advanced nematodes, only three glands are present. In case of primitive nematodes, two pairs of subventral glands are present. But dorsal esophageal gland is present only one in both cases. So that dorsal esophageal gland is responsible for partial digestion of food outside the nematode body, that is inside the plant cell. So that is called extracorporeal digestion. So nematode, if somebody asks you that what type of digestion is there in case of nematodes, it is called extracorporeal digestion. Okay, so extracorporeal digestion means partially digestion of food. So because their mouth opening, their this lumen opening, this stylet lumen opening is very small, so that it can filter the bacteria also. It is very small. So why this is? Because if they suck the cell content, that cell is also having endoplasmic reticulum, then nucleus, then other vacuoles, all these organelles. If they suck all these organelles with their cell sap, they will block this passes. Okay, so they have to filter these organelles. So what they do, they construct a feeding tube. This is a feeding tube. Okay, so this is temporarily feeding tube. Every time when the nematodes feed, they construct a feeding tube just in front of their stylet. So this is a perforation type of feeding tube where all the solutes come inside but the organelles remain outside. See this endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, vacuoles, these all are here. So when they stylate through the stylet lumen, dorsal esophageal gland secretes some enzymes and that come here, and they mix with the cell sap, partially digest it, then filter it through this feeding tube, and then they suck this cell sap. So this is all about your feeding of nematodes. So here you can see mitochondria is also here, endoplasmic reticulum is also here. This is plastid that is present in plant cell, so it is there. So this is the process. Now I can explain it. So most of the plant parasites live in soil and feed on the plant roots from outside. Okay. So when they find the roots, they select a particular feeding site. So suppose there is ectoparasitic nematode that just they just enter their stylet only inside the plant cell, and if the semi-endoparasite nematodes are there, they first enter their stylet and then their neck up to the esophagus part. They just enter inside the root tissue. And when endoparasitic nematodes are there, they just enter with the whole body. So the growing tip of the feeder roots are the most favored feeding site. Growing tips means they are very soft. The cells are multiplying there. So these are the favored feeding site of most of the nematodes. The tactoreceptor, that is cephalic papillae, located on the leaves, coupled with the gentle probing by the stylet, help in the selection of proper feeding site. So, how do they feed on a particular feeding site? They just locate it through their lips. So, on the lips, nematodes have 6 lips. Mostly, the general formation is the 6 lips, and on the lips, they are sensely cephalic papillae is there. You have seen that in morphology class. So that cephalic papillae is responsible for sensing the proper location to insert the stylet. So with the gentle probing, then they probe that part, that location, and after finding a weak part, their stylet is just go inside, and then they start feeding. The nematodes insert their needle-like stylet inside the host cell. The dorsal esophageal gland secretes certain enzymes flow through the stylet lumen to the host cell. So first, this dorsal esophageal gland secretion comes inside the host cell, and there is partial digestion outside the nematode body, which is called extracorporeal digestion. And this semi-digested food is sucked by the nematodes by the pumping action of valves in the median wall that I told you in the picture. And this median valve starts pulsating very fast. So whenever the nematodes feed at a point, this median valve starts pulsating. But when the feed is complete, this median valve stops, and they remove their stylet to other part of the root, and again the same process will start. So upon contraction of the muscles, the lumen of the median valve dilates. Dilates means it expands it. The lumen is expanded, and a negative pressure created which sucks in the plant cell cytoplasm. Just like vacuum cleaner, you just create a negative pressure, and then when you release, the articles come inside. So this is the process here also. When the food passes through the lumen, the secretion of subventral glands get mixed with the food for complete digestion. So here this is the another process. When the semi-digested food comes inside, then the secretion of subventral glands secretes in the lumen, and that because the food is also in the lumen, this subventral gland secretion is also in the lumen. So here both are mixed to complete digest the food, and then it passes through the esophagus to the intestine to digest, to absorb. So here in esophagus, digestion is complete. The digestion and the assimilation and absorption takes place in the intestine. So you are knowing that the intestine is having small projection, small finger-like structure is there, and that is meant for the absorption and assimilation. So during each feed, nematodes form a feeding tube at the stylet tip governed by the esophageal gland secretions. The wall of the feeding tube acts like a microfilter that prevents the entry of cell organelles into tube and thus protects the stylet opening from clogging. So all that you have seen in that picture. After completion of feeding at one place, the nematodes move to another location, and same process repeated. The sedentary and semi-endoparasites, which feed on the cell at one place for their whole life cycle, change the cell morphology and physiology to ensure continuous supply of food from the cells. So in case of sedentary and semi-endoparasite, means this suppose ectoparasites are there, only pure ectoparasites, means they are keeping only stylet for their feeding. So once their feed is complete, they again take some rest for some time, and then again they puncture another location with their stylet. But the sedentary and semi-endoparasites, they remain at one place for their whole life cycle. Okay, and they change the surrounding cells into such a type that these all cells serve their food for their whole life cycle. So in case of sedentary nematodes like cyst nematodes and root knot nematodes, what happens? The surrounding cells, they become large because of the enzymes present in nematodes, and they become more dense. They are having more cytoplasm, more material. So these and the surrounding cells all become very large in case of root knot nematodes, and so the symptoms of root knots, you can see from the outside that the roots become very large and swollen because of this enzymatic action, and so these nematodes feed at one place for their whole life cycle. So this is all about your feeding. Okay, any question from the feeding?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, your name?
Amar Prem, ma'am.
Amar. Yes, tell me.
Yes, ma'am. In nematode, is there a presence of filter chamber so that they can concentrate the liquid food for the efficient digestion, or is there any other modification?
No, the nematodes form a feeding tube outside their nematode body, just near the stylate in the cell, in the plant cell. Actually, they are creating a temporary feeding tube, temporary type of passage in the plant cell, and that is a perforated type of. You can see here in this picture. So this is a plant cell, okay? This is a plant cell, and this is the nematode stylate. So you can see here just at the tip of stylate, this this is a feeding tube, and this is all the plant cell. So plant cell is having so many organelles, so they have to filter it. In the nematode body, there is no filter. Only they can create, because of the esophageal gland secretion, this enzyme is creating a feeding tube, a temporary feeding tube, because this is not present because they are shifting their feeding from one place to another place, taking some rest. Okay.
Ma'am, then they how concentrate their liquid food?
They just create a negative, like pumping of median bulb. They suck the cell sap, which are filtered here, which are filtered and partially digested. So they suck their liquid part, liquid digested part, sorry, partial digested part inside the stylate to procarpus to median bulb, and then to esophageal bulb, the basal bulb. So in that process, the subventral gland secretion is also secreting some enzymes in the lumen, and they both mix to complete the digestion. And that digested food is absorbed in the intestine. Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else? Then reproduction. Reproduction, that in morphology, in introductory class, I told you that in nematodes, male and female both are separate individuals. So this is the general phenomena that males are different individuals, they have different sexual organs, and females have different sexual organs. So the main reproduction is amphimixis. Amphimixis means male and females both are responsible for the production of new generation. So this is also called dioecious. Dioecious means male part is male individual is different, female individual is different. Like in papaya plant, you have seen that female plant is different, male plant is different. But sometimes there are some exceptions, like in Meladogine, they are doing their egg laying through parthenogenesis. Parthenogenesis means the reproduction without males, means males are not required. So you can find very rare males, means males are there, but their population is very less in case of Meladogine. So the common mode of reproduction is by amphimixis. Amphi means both. So when both individuals mix, both individuals mate, then the new generations are formed. So both attract to each other by secreting some chemicals which are called pheromones. So these pheromones are also present in insects to attract the counterpart in the environment that are perceived by the opposite sex. The spicules of males protrude and inserted into female vagina, that I told you in morphology class, that to insert the sperms into the female that are stored in already in spermatheca, where the eggs come and fertilize inside the spermatheca, and after fertilization they stored in uterus, and from the uterus they get another layer on the egg, and after that they extruded out, they laid out. So males release sperms in vagina that are stored in spermatheca, and the caudal elli or bursa help in holding the females during copulation. When the oocyte of female passes through the spermatheca, it enters inside it. So after entering inside the egg, the sperm becomes means both are N nuclear N type of chromosomes, and then after fertilization it becomes 2N. In some nematodes, the males are rare, so the reproduction is by parthenogenesis, like in Melidogae. The young ones produced are developed through unfertilized eggs. So here the juveniles that are hatched from the eggs that are unfertilized eggs. In some cases, hermaphroditism is also found. Like hermaphroditism means there is only one individual having both the sex organs, like male and female, both sex organs are present on the same individual, and this is the phenomena where the individual is preferably a female that has developed the male organs. So this is found in some cases, not in all. So oviposition is that ectoparasites lay eggs singly in soil. How they oviposit, like oviposition
Ma'am,
means
the
how
slide
many.
is not changing.
Now
Yes,
continued
ma'am.
is written.
Yes, ma'am.
In some nematodes, males are rare. You have heard that. Young ones produced are developed through unfertilized eggs. Hermaphroditism is very rare, in space, preferably a female. And oviposition means how many eggs they are producing. Like in ectoparasites, because they are already always moving, they always move to find a new location to feed. And the endoparasites, whether if it is migratory, it has always to move from one cell to another cell to find the feed. So when the nematodes are moving, when they are migrating, they can lay very less eggs. And if they are sedentary or semi-endoparasites, means they are fixing their body at one place for their whole life cycle, then they are able to produce large number of eggs. Okay, so this is the difference between them. So sedentary endoparasites lay eggs in large numbers on the root surface embedded with gelatinous matrix. Gelatinous matrix, I told you in morphology that the nematodes have rectal glands in their rectum. So when they release the eggs, this rectal gland secretes some sticky part, that is gelatinous matrix. So these nematode eggs that are embedded in gelatinous matrix, they are protected from the environment. So when the optimum temperature, optimum moisture is there, then the nematodes hatch from the eggs and they infect the new host. So these eggs with the gelatinous matrix is called the egg mounds. It is very much visible with the naked eye also. When you observe any root knots on the roots, then you just arrange very slightly, very delicately in water, and then you can see that a small beaded like structure, moti jaisa dikhta hai, chota chota beaded like structure on the that knot part. So you can take it through your forceps or through needles, and when you see these knots in microscope, you can find 200 to 300 eggs just embedded in that gelatinous matrix. So for that you have to, if you are a nematologist, then you have to release that eggs for inoculation. Then there is a chemical called NaOCl, sodium hypochlorite. So 5% sodium hypochlorite we mix with the egg that will release the eggs from this gelatinous matrix, and then the eggs hatch very easily. The root knot nematodes secrete the gelatinous matrix through rectal glands, while the citrus nematode through the excretory pore. These citrus nematodes, they have a different system of secreting the gelatinous matrix. Here the rectal glands are not responsible for the secretion. Here the excretory pore is responsible for the secretion. So in this case, the excretory pore is just present above the vagina on the vulva side, because from the vulva the eggs are laid, and from the excretory pore the gelatinous matrix is secreted, so both they get mixed. So in this case, if you have been asked anywhere that what is the location of excretory pore in citrus nematodes, so that is just near the vulva. Okay. The fecundity is also variable. Fecundity means the capacity of means the number of eggs that is a female nematode is capable of laying in a whole life cycle. See, the ectoparasites and migratory endoparasites, I told you these can lay very less number of eggs, that is 10 to 25 eggs. And the endoparasites or semi-endoparasites, they lay about 50 to 500 eggs. So the egg laying capacity of endoparasites and semi-endoparasites are larger, are higher than ectoparasites and migratory endoparasites. Okay, so now I'm stopping here. If anybody wants to ask, you are welcome. So I will share this slide again. Uh, all the students, please feel free to share your problems. Like if you are not understanding, some people maybe not understanding English or anywhere, you can ask me anytime. Okay. So my motto is to make you understand a bit of structure, a bit of process, what is the biology, what is the physiology, because this is very primitive type of study. So do you have any question? Hello, are you listening me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone of you regarding language, you can ask freely. Don't be shy. Don't hesitate. This is your BSc. You are not doing your PhD. So the basic things, if you don't know, then in future you'll find problem. किसी को कुछ प्रॉब्लम है? नहीं है. All are very intelligent. Or you can message me on my personal WhatsApp number that I could not understand this, or I I can contact, or I can answer you on our phone call also, so that you can understand. If you don't understand, you can't answer in exam. Okay, Jyoti, send me the